All right, good morning. The reason why I want to record this session is because I'm going to start out with some news, some updates for you guys. And they come from the UAR convention. That's the Utah Association of Realtors convention that we just had last week. I want to make sure that you're all subscribed to my YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and put in Elite Agent Training, I'm going to be making a series of videos over the next few weeks as time allows, giving you updates on some of the big things that are happening across the country. There was an entire room full of people that were, the politically correct way to say it, I think, is scared shitless. There's some really crazy legal stuff going on around the country. Okay, things from the big NAR lawsuits that are in all the news and things that we can do to be aware of those. I'll be talking about that. We're currently, I made a video just the other day. It's my most recent addition to that channel, talking about seller financing. And just yesterday, I talked with some of the brokers in Utah, and right in the middle of our conversation, one of them pulls up a legal advisory from the UAR attorney talking about seller financing. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of some of those issues coming up. And to that extent, you should be able to get details. And by the way, these came up in the UAR meeting, but they're legal things that affect everybody across the country. So for example, seller financing right now is an issue because even though we have investors saying, I've done thousands of these and I've never had a due on sell clause exercised, right? But why would a due on sell clause be exercised? If the interest rate was 7% that I had and I did seller financing and somebody else has 7% and they're paying the mortgage, the banks don't have a lot of motivation to exercise that due on sell clause. But if interest rates are 2.5% on my loan and today they're 7.5%, and other banks are going out of business all around me, as a bank, wouldn't it be smart for me to exercise that due on sell clause, recapture all that money that I lent out at 2.5% and lend it out to somebody new at 7.5%? So I hear from investors saying, well, that never happens. Well, it is happening today, and we need to be aware of it. Okay. So I've made a little video on that. Other things to be aware of: copyright laws. We've talked about this a little bit, but in your listings, you should only be using photos that you took, or if you're paying for a paid photographer, then you need to get a release form signed. There's actually new businesses cropping up between photographers and attorneys where the photographer will take pictures and he's got an attorney ready waiting in the background, forms already drafted, and he says, I gave you license to use these one time and you didn't have the license to post these on a website, to use it to market the house for sale. We had one attorney, I think this was here in Utah, $30,000, the listing was posted one day. He sued for $30,000 in damages because he had not authorized the use of his photos for that property to be placed on the market. Same thing goes with blueprints. You put a listing up, and I know the MLS has lately been really friendly with, hey, here's a place where you can put all the photos and blueprints and things like that. Do you have permission to use those blueprints? Just because your client gave them to you, do they have the copyright to share them? And again, there was a Texas company, $28 million lawsuit that they lost. This was a small brokerage. They lost that because of copyright violations with blueprints and things like that. So I'm going to be making a series of videos talking about things. I just want to make sure, I can't take all the time to do this. We talked about it for probably an hour and a half in my Utah broker meeting yesterday, but these are issues that affect all of you all across the country, and I want to make sure you're aware of them. So please subscribe to that YouTube channel, Elite Agent Training, and set some alerts so that when I add a new video, I'm only adding 1 or 2 a week because just I'm busy enough that it's hard to crank things out. I'm not an influencer, not near pretty enough to do that, but I do try to help educate you guys. So anyways, keep an eye on those things as they come out. Get it. If you get a chance, watch that seller finance one. And I had one of my great agents who is very heavy into investing immediately he watched it and he immediately texted me and saying, what about this? Can we do it this way? Can we do it that way? And that's really helpful if it just starts a conversation between you and your broker because you want to do it. There certainly can be ways to do it and protect yourself, but I don't think the disclosures that we have now do. You know, I think we have to go above and beyond the basic forms that we have available to us at this moment to protect ourselves, because I've been doing this 20 years. We've never been faced with a market like this where banks are going out of business and interest rates have tripled. And so this is new territory for me, where banks are motivated to actually exercise that due on sell clause. So that is not the topic of today's training. So let's go ahead and get to the topic. By the way, I don't know if anybody here is new. Let me go over some ground rules and I'll introduce myself. First of all, I do ask that you keep yourself muted. It looks like everybody has. If you do want to interact with me, this is live, and that's one of the benefits of attending live is you can interact with me, you can ask questions. But unless you're intending to interact, it's a good idea to keep yourself muted so that we don't pick up a lot of background noise, confidential conversations on your phone with other people. You can always, there's a reaction button down at the bottom here. You can click that reaction. You can raise your hand to kind of get my attention. Once I share my screen, it's hard for me. I don't see all of you like this. I just see the presentation with like 2 or 3 of you on the side. So I don't see everybody once I share my screen. So feel free to unmute yourself and call out some attention so that we get your questions answered. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into this training today, and I'll introduce myself in case it's anybody's first time here. So I'm Eric Lee. I am the principal broker for the state of Utah. I opened our first physical location for the company here in Utah, well, for the company period, but the first physical location was here in Utah. And since then we've grown. We are now twice the size of the second biggest company in the state. So we are the largest company in the state by far, and account for nearly 20% of all real estate transactions in Utah. So I've got a couple things of resources for you. First of all is myself. If you have questions, comments, feedback, other things you'd like to see training on, please email me directly at brokerericlee@gmail.com. If you're anxious for more training than I can push out to you in this 1 hour and you want it all, then I've got eliteagenttraining.com, which is a paid program, but it gives you probably 4 times the content, and it's an online course, so it's all at your fingertips 24/7. And then I've got that YouTube channel that I mentioned where I'm constantly adding daily tips. Occasionally I'll record deep dives that I do into different forms to help you guys in building your business and protecting yourself and running things the right way. So let's talk about our homework. Every week we do a little bit of homework. We just finished talking about working with sellers and buyers. And so everybody was encouraged to have a buyer presentation that they can deliver. Just as a quick side note, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here as we talk about this one. A lot of you guys I recognize are Utah agents. In other states, it hasn't been required to have a buyer broker agreement. That sounds really odd to us, right? It has been a part of our buyer packet checklist forever, all across the country. One of the reasons the big NAR lawsuits, if you've tracked them, they are in the billions of dollars. One's for $4 billion, I think. One's for $13 billion. The attorney said it could go up to $40 billion potentially. Yeah, what's it called? Anywhere or Everywhere Real Estate. They used to be Realogy. They just settled for, I think it was $93.5 million, something like that. Anyways, it was right up there around $90 million that they settled. So these are big deals, right? But a lot of these could have been ameliorated or not happened at all if people were in the habit of doing that buyer presentation and getting a buyer agency agreement signed up front. What was happening in a lot of states is sellers were, signing a listing agreement, let's say for 6% or whatever was negotiated, but they're signing it, and buyer's agents didn't have an agreement. They were just getting compensated and from the listing agent. And so they did this big class action lawsuit saying that sellers overpaid or that they were forced to pay for this or that or the other. Now in Utah, this seems weird to us because we've had forms for a long time that discuss this. I want to make sure that you guys, though, are having those discussions. And so we just had trainings the last few weeks of working with sellers, working with buyers, and making sure that we are conveying our value to them. And so hopefully, I'm going to go back to this screen here with our homework review. Hopefully you guys have done your homework, because this is the kind of thing that protects you. All right. If you deliver a buyer presentation, you communicate your value, you help people understand what it is that you're doing, why you're getting paid, what you're getting paid, how you're getting paid. All of those things can help you so much in this business in ways that you may not even anticipate. And in this case, going back years, agents not doing these types of things is coming back to buy in a potentially very industry changing way. This could change the shape of our entire industry. So this is very important. All right. And I think it'll be even more important moving forward. So make sure that you're doing the homework at the end of each week. All right. This one, we're going to start out. One person sees a rock pile, another sees a great cathedral. The difference is vision. The reason we're starting with this is because for the next few weeks, we're going to talk about ways to build your business. Several of the ways that we build our business are things that are just like this. Okay. It's going to take a little bit of vision. If you need immediate business right now, I call that bucket hauling. Okay. Today, we're actually going to be talking about pipelines. If you need water immediately, then you hike the 2 miles to, we're talking like third world Africa type countries. You hike the 2 miles to the lake, you fill your buckets with water because you have to have water today. If that's you and you have to pay your bills today, that means you're on the phones, you're knocking doors, you're hauling buckets. Okay. These are the hard things. They're the painful things. And to be quite honest, most real estate agents will have to do those things to build their business initially. All right. It's a very rare agent. And usually the only exceptions to that are agents that come in and, well, you can always buy leads, but you got to have money to do that. Or you can come from another profession where you had kind of a nest egg built up. But if you were like me and you're poor and you don't have a ton of connections, you start out hauling buckets. Okay. First of all, I'm going to teach you about pipelines before I teach you about hauling buckets, because the people that haul buckets should have a pipeline in the back of their mind the entire time, because you'll probably be thinking, this isn't very fun. I don't want to do this every day for the rest of my life. And you don't have to. Okay. If you build a pipeline as you're hauling the buckets, then it makes a difference. And so some of you, just to put this in perspective, you might know agents that have a big name. They do lots of marketing, big billboards, but you've interacted with them. In fact, you guys can raise your hands if you've interacted with an agent that has a huge name, but they are horrible, right? They don't know. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. They're just so detached from their clients, right? They don't have great reviews, but they're so good at marketing and just bringing in new people that they don't worry about building a pipeline. They don't worry about staying in great contact with their past clients because they don't have a great relationship with their past clients. They didn't do a great job for them, but they have their marketing systems so on point. I personally don't like that. I know that you can build your business that way, but I think that we're in this business to take care of people. We should have a great relationship with our past clients. I know of a very prominent agent here locally who doesn't even read his emails. It took him 2 weeks to realize that a deal had been canceled because he's just so checked out, right? I don't think that's acceptable. He does a lot of business, but to me, this isn't just about money. We're talking about the people here. We're here to serve the people, and in turn for our service, we get great compensation potentially, but we need to be serving the people and taking care of them. It's not just about how much we can market ourselves. So as we go through talking about building your pipeline and stuff, I want you to keep in mind, how can I be of great service to the people that know me so that I create a value that's a lasting impression with them? Okay. So since most of us haven't worked on an actual pipeline, but we've all ridden a bike, I'm going to compare our pipeline to this bicycle. If you've been with me before on this, and I know some of you have because I recognize your faces, you've been with me on these trainings for a while, I want you to do an analysis, because every time I do this training, I think, you know what, I've let bad habits creep in. My goal for you guys that have stuck with me, this is a revolving 12-week course, If you stuck with me, I want you to think, where have I let bad habits creep in? How can I improve the things that I'm doing? Your business frame is your habits. I take 3 out of 12 weeks starting today to teach you how to generate business. The other 9 weeks, 3/4 of it, is your business habits. So we've talked about when do you start your day? When do you end your day? Okay. Do you have your hours posted? Do you communicate your hours? These are healthy boundaries to your clients, to the people that you're working with. Do you communicate those boundaries to your family and to your friends so that when you're working, you are working, right? And not being constantly distracted by all of the demands of self-employed people with people around them that don't understand self-employed is still working, right? Have you communicated all of these things? Do you have time blocking throughout your day so that you have clearly identified the things that are most effective and working for you? Are you tracking all of those things? See, we've got the planner that I've talked about before, right? Are you planning your day out in advance? Are you tracking the people that you need to call, planning it first, and then tracking, did I call those people? What did I do well? What did I not? All of those business habits, that's your frame. And your frame, by the way, if we're comparing this to a bicycle, so I was the tri club president back in high school, the triathlon club president. And so we did triathlons, and guys, you get into that world and it is insane. I've got a bike hanging out in my garage. It's a $6,000 bike, and it is lighter. It's a full-size bike for me, but it is lighter than the little teeny midget bike I bought for my daughter from Walmart. You know, like you can lift it with one finger, and it's stronger than that midget bike. That little bike will break. Sorry, I'm saying midget. That's not. I need to be more sensitive. I grew up in a different age. I'm talking about those little tiny bikes, not necessarily made for midgets. I'm just talking for my little kids, right? So the difference comes down to the frame and the components. So we've talked for 9 weeks now about your frame and your components. Do you have the frame and components of an $80 bicycle at Walmart that's going to break the minute you take it off-road onto a trail or something like that? I've had handlebars shear off on me. Like literally, I'm going down a hill, my handlebars shear off, and I'm holding my handlebars in one hand. And it just happened that earlier in the day, my brakes had fallen off and they happened to be in my backpack. So I had no brakes, no handlebars. I'm trying to keep from crashing and dying. That's what a crappy bike gets you. Okay. Is your business built on that, or do you have solid frame and business habits? Have you put into practice the homework from the last 9 weeks so that you have a structured routine that you implement every single day? If you haven't done that, then think seriously about it and stick with me for the next 12 weeks, because we'll be going over it again, helping you build and maintain those effective habits. Now, let's talk about the front wheel. The front wheel represents new business. When you're riding a bike, all your focus is forward. I remember the very first time I rode a bike, I was amazed at how fast my little feet were spinning. I'm looking down at my little feet. I crashed into a ditch. It hurt. I cried. I walked home all scuffed up, left the bike in the ditch. It wasn't even my bike. It was a neighbor's bike that they'd left in our front yard. Guys, you don't take your eyes off the front wheel, okay? You keep your eyes forward. That's where the new business is at. Now, the things that you don't have to worry about if you've got a good frame are the closings. You notice that all the power that you're generating with your legs here is going towards this rear tire, right? That's where the chain, everything's set up. But you don't have to turn around and watch your rear tire for this to happen. You keep your eyes forward, generating new business. It goes through your frame. So if I get a new buyer, I put them into my CRM software, which is part of me being a professional. That's part of my frame, right? Once I put them in my CRM software, I apply my new buyer task plan, and automatically 35 tasks populate that I need to do for that buyer. And I do that for every client. So I don't have to take my eyes off the front. I don't have to stop and think every day, okay, I got a new buyer, John Smith. What should I be doing today for them? I just pull up my task plan. I check off the 3 or 4 things that I need to do that day, and I keep my eyes forward, generating new business. If I do this, I can consistently close 2 deals a month. Okay. Now, 2 deals a month for me is my ideal. It gives me a great income. I'm not going so crazy that I start to hate the job. Okay. I have a pretty balanced life. I'm not working any more than 50 hours a week. And I have time for the people that are really important for me. Okay. And this was, by the way, most of my career. And I'll be honest, if you look me up now on the MLS, I'm not doing 2 deals a month. All right. I'm now, as an owner of the company and principal broker, managing over 250 agents directly and 2,400 agents indirectly. I've got my hands full with other things, and I have a commitment to my agents, to you guys, to make sure that you have everything that you need to build your businesses. So yeah, I'm not doing the closings like I used to, but for the vast majority of my career, all up until the last maybe 2-3 years, I was doing 12 to 24 transactions consistently. All right. So if you're doing that in today's market, that's about $300,000 a year. And it comes from this concept that I'm teaching you right now. Now, I've shown you pictures of mountain bikes, but I have talked about pipelines as well. Mountain bikes are fun. It's exciting. There's adventure around every corner. But when we're talking about whether or not we can pay our bills, we don't necessarily want exciting and adventure. We want this to be boring. We want our bills to get paid every month without issue. So we're going to get it on a track. That means that we find out what works for us. We use some of these tools that I've provided you in previous weeks. That helps us identify what works, what doesn't work. And then once we've identified what works, we do that consistently every day with time blocking activities. And that's basically putting our business on a track so that we're doing the right things every day. Now we've got bucket hauling versus pipeline. The bucket hauling, again, as I mentioned earlier, everybody has to do it at some point in their career, or at least most people do. And that's the hard drudge work. You know, that's the phone calls, the door knocking, that kind of stuff. Pipeline, though, is this idea that once you've built your business for a few years, there's a lot of people that know you. You've got a lot of past clients, and you stay in contact with them. You don't have to do sales pitches because they already know and trust you. Sometimes they'll even call you and say, hey, we're ready to sell our home. Or, you know, can you still help us with it? Guys, that's the easiest kind of business you can ever get. And quite frankly, that's the business that the public wants, right? In recent surveys, it's over 84% of people would rather work with somebody that they already know and trust. That other 16%, they don't like mixing business and family, right? You can understand that. But most people want to work with somebody that they know and trust. So as you're knocking doors, instead of just knocking random doors, you can do you can turn it into a pipeline with the farming approach that I'm going to teach you in a couple of weeks, right? Rather than just calling for sell by owners. You can actually take notes in your CRM software, build relationships with people so that they become people that you have a relationship with and an ongoing contact. So it's not just new people every single day. You work on building a pipeline as you haul those buckets. All right, we've got two potential pipelines that you can do in this business. One is the real estate practice. That's where all of our training is located. But here at Equity, we have another option for realtor recruiting. I just made a challenge to the agents in my office to give me one person a week this month that is another real estate agent that they think would be a good fit for me, for my office, right? If you do this, we have agents. I've got several agents that make over $10,000 a month. We've got 2 agents in the company that I think are over $50,000. Sorry, not a month, a year, $50,000 a year in profit share. Profit share is simply because, let's say Brian referred Michael. Those are the 2 names I see over here. Brian referred Michael. Every time Michael closes a deal, we have a flat transaction fee. Michael pays that fee, but $100 of that goes to Brian. Brian doesn't have to do anything for that. It's not a multi-level thing. This is a thank you, Brian, for referring Michael. We're not robbing from Peter to pay Paul. We don't take 30% of your commission so that we can build this multi-level thing. You earned that commission. You should keep that commission. But we want to give $100 to Brian as a thank you for bringing you our way. And as long as Brian and Michael are both with us, that money gets paid out every time there's a closing forever. And that's a cool deal because we have a company where realtors stick around forever. If I look at my top 2 pages of agents, as far as longevity goes, it's filled, my I told you I've got about 250 agents. The top 2 pages in a list would all be agents that have been with me for over a decade. That's almost unheard of in this business. Okay. So we have some good things here. And it's a great idea for you guys to share it. You're already out there. You're already talking to people. This is one sentence in addition to everything that you're doing where you say, hey, by the way, are you super happy with your brokerage that you're with now? My brokerage is actively looking for great agents, and I've been really pleased working with you. I think you'd be a great fit with us. And they might say, yeah, I'm super happy where I'm at. Okay, great. And you move on. But I've had agents that were paying 30% to 50% of that transaction. I'm making $12,000. They're making $6,000. Yeah, they're not super happy at the end of the day. And by the end of the transaction, they've moved over. So just something to be aware of. Keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to go on and we're going to talk about building your real estate pipeline. So first of all, your sphere of influence by definition. We always talk about sphere of influence. I chuckle a little bit because my first introduction into this was I was at a brokerage. My starting brokerage was a 60-40 split. Okay, I got 40%. I did not get any training for this. I was pretty much lost. And so I went in and I asked the broker for help. He took me to lunch one day, for which I'm grateful. That's the only thing I'm grateful for this guy, because he was an absolute tool in every other way. But we went to lunch and he wrote on a napkin, my sphere of influence, like SPEAR. That was the moment I knew I got to get better training. And he proceeded to teach me that people would work with me because they were my friends and family. And guys, that's not right. Some will do that. Some of your friends and family are super loyal that way. But even if they are, that's not the reason they should be working with you. They should be working with you for one reason only, and that's because you're the best. You provide great value. All right? So your sphere of influence, by definition, is everybody that you know and interact with. But the reason they're going to work with you isn't because you know them, because they have some sense of loyalty to you. The reason they're going to work with you is because you are the best at what you do. Okay, you take great care of your people. That's what we want to teach. Now, your sphere is golden. Like I said, 84% of people want to work with somebody that they know and trust. By the way, when I built this training program some 17 years ago, this percentage was lower. This is a study that they do on a regular basis. I think it comes from the NAR, but this percentage was lower. But as the world gets smaller and smaller with technology, you get more and more scam attempts on you. You don't dare click on any links now, even from people that you do know, because who knows if they've been hacked, right? But that percentage just goes up over time. People want to work with somebody that they know and trust because the world is scary. Lawsuits are abundant. They want to know they've got somebody that they can lean on. Now, I looked at those two words, know and trust, and I thought, what is the difference between those two? Well, my family knows me personally, but do they trust me professionally? See, personally, we get together and I'm the jokester, right? I've been teasing them. If it's my kids, it's the dad jokes or whatever. Do they trust me as a real estate professional? Did they ever see that side of me? And the answer for most of us is no, they don't. And so you get real frustrated or discouraged when friends or family members or neighbors don't work with you, but they don't trust you on a professional level. They know you personally. You're a great guy. You're a great girl. Okay. They know you personally, but they don't trust you professionally. And that's up to us. We go back to my favorite Spider-Man quote that I've taken liberties with, which is, with great responsibility comes great power. You got to own this. It's your job for your friends, family, neighbors, for your sphere of influence. It's your job for them to feel like they can trust you professionally. Now, if we're working with strangers, and we're knocking doors and stuff like that, they might see us working really hard. And then it's our job to get them to know us personally. So there's different things that we need to be doing to build this knowing and trusting. So this is knowing you personally and trusting you professionally. All right. Now, we want to make it a part of our business, but not all of our business, very simply because most people don't have a sphere of influence that's big enough to maintain a business on. Like, you need about 500 people in your database that are good, solid people to build your business around. And then if you've got that and you follow this program that I'm going to teach you today, and we talked earlier about your framework, about having certain habits. If you've got 500 people in your database that are good people, you'll have regular, consistent business. It takes extra work to build that up. So right now, you may not have 500 people in your database. As you're working with strangers, if the only people that you're working with are friends and family and they reject you, that hurts really bad, right? But if they reject you, but you've got, you just signed another buyer agency agreement with somebody else today and you're signing a new listing tomorrow, it's okay. You're going to build your confidence in your abilities. I've just noticed the people that only work with friends and family, they're typically not very confident. They don't handle rejection very well. So you are going to have to go outside your comfort zone, because you've got to have that sphere of influence growing. Most of you don't know 500 people right now. They're not in your database. You're not working them. So step number one, everybody's got to know that you're a realtor. Do they even know? So I've been a realtor, like I said, 20 years. My last neighborhood that I lived in for a long time, I lived there for 11 years, and I kept hearing people say, "Oh, I didn't know you still did real estate. I thought you were just managing people." Whose fault is that? Mine. They all knew me. I was the HOA president for our little neighborhood of 30 homes. Okay, everybody knew me. I was very involved. I hadn't done the work to help them understand I was a realtor. But this is the last thing that we all want to hear. We go walking our neighborhood and there's a new sign come up in somebody's yard and it's not our sign. And we're talking to them as they're out watering their lawn and we're walking our dog. I'm like, "So I see you listed your home. Did you know I was a real estate agent?" "Oh, I had no idea." Every agent I know that's been in this business has heard this from somebody that they know and love. Am I right? Brian, have you heard this from somebody you know? Michael? Minerva? Sorry,
Absolutely.
What's that? Brian, what did you say? Michael? You're unmuted.
I said absolutely.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
I've been trying to make a very valiant effort in not having that ever happen again.
It hurts when it happens, doesn't it? Like you see your cousin on Facebook, "Hey guys, we just listed our home," or "We're so happy we're moving into our new home." And I'm like, crap, I had no idea, right? It happens to all of us. So we need to fix that first of all. Before we can get their business, they need to know that we're in real estate. And we haven't done a very good job of this. So we need to, first of all, identify who our sphere of influence is. And again, we did that definition earlier. Everybody that you know and interact with as a part of your everyday life. We're not going to go to church and hand out business cards. I've heard of agents doing that. Super cheesy. Don't do that. Don't go to your family reunion and hand out business cards, right? But what you can do is you can go to church and you can talk to people. And when you're just talking to them, "So what is it you do?" "Well, this is what I do. And, let me get your name and number. Is it okay if I chat with you later about this?" Find the appropriate time. If you're at a family reunion, you can chat, but you're not there to market. Okay. Just keep in mind, you're here to love people. And that's what we do in this business, is we love and we take care of people. That's what I want you to keep in mind. So, we can do a little intro letter. You could do a Facebook post or I don't know what you kids use these days. Is it Twitter? X? What is it called? Technology is awesome. All right. Do whatever you do. You could do a little letter for your whole neighborhood. Just say, "Hey, everybody, I'm so excited. I've got this new job." If you're an experienced agent, you've been doing this for a long time, but you're still having this happen to you, then you can talk about increased services. You can talk about the market changes. You know what, guys? I've been watching the news. There's been so much crazy information on the news, and I wanted to make sure you actually had real numbers from your neighborhood professional right here. So because of the market changes, I'm being more proactive for my neighborhood so that you guys can be more informed, right? You could do a simple letter about that. or Facebook posting about that. You want to keep it simple. You want to keep it in their interest. And we're not asking for business here. This is the planting the seed stage. Okay. This is the building and nurturing the relationship. I talk in other areas about this emotional bank account that we have. I think it came from, I don't know, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You guys might know. I read too many books to keep them all straight. But it's this idea that with every interaction that we have with somebody, we're either depositing or withdrawing from that emotional bank account balance that we have with them. Are we making deposits or are we making withdrawals? If I called Brian up and he's my old high school friend and we haven't spoken in, well, it was high school, 10 years ago, Brian? Let's go with that. Okay, I call Brian up. We haven't talked to each other in 10 years since high school. We were best buddies back then. And the first words of my mouth, and Brian, first of all, how do you feel about hearing from your old friend, Eric? I should pick on somebody other than Brian. His audio is a little bit delayed. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me, but your audio responses are a little bit delayed. Michael, let's go with you. Sorry, Brian, we're not friends anymore. Michael,
Hey, Eric. Yeah,
10 years since high school, right?
yeah.
We haven't talked, but we were best buddies back then. And I call you up and say, hey, this is Eric Lee from high school. I was thinking about you. How are you? Are you excited right now?
Oh,
Okay.
hey, bud. Yeah, I haven't heard from you for a long time. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, I just got a quick minute here, but I'm wondering if I'm in real estate right now and I'm looking for people that are interested in buying and selling homes. How do you feel right now, Michael?
Well, little uncomfortable. I moved out of state.
See, I had the potential to have a beautiful conversation with you and I completely ruined it, didn't I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I tried to make a withdrawal out of a relationship that was probably at a zero balance because we haven't talked for a long time. Okay. But if I'm just chatting with Michael and say, you know what, I was thinking about you today and I wanted to reach out and see how you're doing. Tell me what's going on in your life. She says, oh, I'm out of state. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And we have just a great conversation. And I find out, by the way, I've got my CRM software, so I'm making notes and he lives in this state and he's married. Oh, really? What's your wife's name? And I put that in there. And then, and he says, oh, what are you doing? I'm in real estate. You know, I've been doing this for a little while. It's a lot of fun. You know, the market's got these crazy things going on, but keeps us on our toes, you know, and I like to stay in touch with people and I'm trying to do a better job of that. Do you mind if I stay in better touch with you? And if we just have a friendly conversation like that, he's going to be like, yeah, that's cool. So Michael goes to my database. 3 months later, I reach out to, well, it depends on our conversation. Maybe there's something cool going on in his life. And he says, yeah, we're just about to go on a trip to Africa. So maybe it's 2 weeks later. I'm like, dude, I want to hear about your trip. Okay. We are rebuilding a friendship. I'm being a better friend because of the tools that I have. I talk to agents all the time that you go, there's a different training I do, the Michael Gerber one. There's the quote from that great people go to work on their lives, not just in their lives. See, I'm working on myself. I'm being a better friend to Michael. So if he's going on a trip to Africa, I don't want to call him in 3 months. I want to call him in 2 weeks. I want to see how that trip was. That's what a friend would do, right? One of my favorite agents, I just love her. She did this training. Well, actually, she mentored. She hired me as a personal mentor. And she says, I don't want to hit up my friends and family. You know, like my relationship with them is worth more than money. And
Eric?
Yeah.
Can I share something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I kind of did this exact thing with an old high school friend, and I started reaching out just nonchalant, just like, how's it going? And over the course of months, and then, you know, his parents were real good to me, so I started reaching out to them, and I told them first, you know, what I was doing, started sending them letters, doing pop-bys because they were still in state. And then he, being out of state, I started sending like little birthday cards or texts and stuff. And then just recently, I finally sent, you know, I know he's into exercise and biking. That's what we used to do. So I had this little mountain bike video, And I sent it to him like, hey, this was a great ride I did. And at the very end, I hadn't even told him I'm a realtor, but at the end, it shows that I'm a realtor with Equity Real Estate. Whether he watched it all the way through, I don't know. But I just kind of kept everything kind of low key and friendship level with them.
That's great. That's great. And as you make these deposits and you build that balance up, then it's okay to do some withdrawals too. It's okay
Okay.
to go back to them at some point and say, hey, by the way, I think that's Buffini's favorite line. Hey, by the way, right? By the way,
Okay.
I'm looking for anybody that's interested in buying or selling. I did a challenge with the agents in my office last month, and I loved it. Where our challenge was to go out and ask 10 people to be our ambassadors. Like, I'm looking for people that know me really well, that they know that I'm going to do a great job. I want you to be my ambassador. You're just asking them point blank. I want you to be my ambassador. That means, to me, that means anytime you hear anybody talking about buying or selling real estate, you will boldly step forward and say, I got a guy for you, and you'll give them my name, give me their name, and I'm going to take good care of my ambassadors. Okay. And then we did a little pop by gift for them. Anyways, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, but we got to build that relationship up. So Michael, I appreciate you sharing that story. So now that everybody knows that we're a real estate agent, now they need to benefit from that fact. So we've got a simple formula here. In order for them to benefit, we're going to do 12 monthly newsletters. Now, remember the know and trust, know you personally, trust you professionally. Okay. In our newsletters, can we do both of those things? Can people get to know us more personally in our newsletter?
Yes.
Yeah. Unless you pay for it, right? Because you can pay for a newsletter that is generic random content that goes out to everybody. And guys, I'm telling you right now, that doesn't do, sorry, I want to swear some more. It doesn't do crap. I'm trying to be more sensitive. Okay. Like, you have an ideal moment here. People want to work with somebody they know and trust. So you have an opportunity with your newsletter, share a personal story. That same agent that I shared with you that I coached, I still get a newsletter from her every month, and I absolutely love it because the first article, I don't ever read her professional article, but the first section of her newsletter is always personal. And she talks about her kids and her grandkids and the adventures that they go on, and I love that. It gives
that.
It gives me a peek into her life, and I feel closer to her over the years than I do to almost any other agent, because she's involved me in her life for years now through these newsletters. In there, she's also got professional articles. So her family, who already knows and lived those moments with her, they might look at the professional articles and say, oh yeah, that's right, Rebecca is a great agent. Okay. For phone calls, any kind of personal contact, doesn't have to be a phone call. Okay. These are personal contacts once a quarter. So, for the younger generation, it could be a text, right? It can be interacting in social media. It could be a phone call. It could be knocking doors, whatever, but it's a personal contact once every 90 days. And again, if they've got something cool going on in their life, then don't stick to that rule. Talk to them in 2 weeks, find out about their trip to Africa. Another thing that you can do, semi-annual market reports. This is pure business. This is people trusting you professionally. Every 6 months, you put together a report. Those reports can come from the MLS. We get reports from our local board, our state board. This is your chance to tell people a different story than what they hear on the news, because all they hear on the news is doom and gloom. And if you're not communicating with them real numbers, then they don't have any other options. Next is nice cards. This is just your chance to love people. Okay. I've gotten birthday cards, Christmas cards, where people have put in, oh, by the way, the greatest compliment I can receive is a referral. And I'm thinking, F you, it's my birthday, or it's Christmas. How dare you use Christmas as a marketing ploy, right? So, Michael, you unmuted yourself. You have a comment on that?
No, just that it's really good that you said that, because I've been kind of going back and forth. Do I put that on the card, the little note and stuff? And so it's nice to hear that that's an infringement on their special day.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sending, like, if you have a conversation, for example, Buffini teaches a lot. Like, if I have a phone call with somebody and I talk to them and I find out that, their kid is struggling in the hospital, I might want to send them a personal card and just keep it personal. But if I find out that they're going to Africa and I want to send them a card, or they make me laugh, they tell me a joke, I'm going to send them a little card. And because that's Buffini's thing, it's writing these personal cards, right? I can send them a little card saying, you know what, I loved our conversation today. You really made me laugh. Oh, by the way, if you know anybody looking to buy or sell real estate, the greatest compliment I can get is referral, So I could certainly do that in some of those. But if it's their birthday, this should just be love. Okay. If it's Christmas, it should just be about that. Okay. If their kid's sick and you're sending them a card, by no means should you be marketing in that card. That should just be about love. So when you do this, you get about 20 contacts a year. This is an example of fun cards. Now, by the way, Send Out Cards is a network marketing program. I don't know if they're still in existence. I was never a rep for them. I am not marketing them, but they had some cool stuff. I could build this card custom. This was a picture of my family back in the day. And I thought these thought bubbles that I put in there were pretty good. I'm like, smile, damn it. And the girls are all sweet. My little boy is like, I just tooted. I just want this thing to be done with. So I put some thought into this card. I saw this card stick around on fridges for over a year of people that I'd sent it to. I'm going to share another one with you. Here's one. This is just a store-bought card, right? Few questions for you, son, on Valentine's Day. Do you know how wonderful you are? Do you know how much you're loved? Do you have unclean underwear? From my mom and dad. And they wrote me a little personal note in there. I've kept this for over a year because somebody put some real thought into it. What I don't keep are those generic cards that you all get from title companies around Christmas time, where there's just 12 people whose names you don't even recognize. And I just feel sorry for those guys. I can picture them on the boardroom table, just scribbling signatures on a million cards to send it out to every real estate agent in the market. That doesn't mean anything. If that's what you're doing, mass production with no caring, no thought, stop doing it. It's not helping your business. You're wasting money. Okay. If you're going to put together a card, put some thought into it, make it something special that people will hold on to. This whole top of mind, if I go back to this is not top of mind awareness. Okay. We've had that bull crap thrown at us for so long. Top of mind awareness is not sufficient. People need to know that they can know and trust us, that we care about them, not just the last person that reached out to them. Okay. We need to be the person that reached out and the person that made a difference in their life. And step 3 happens automatic. If we've done step 1 and step 2, they're going to be referring us. So here's our magic numbers. Brian, give me a thumbs up if I have business cards. Have you ever seen me give out a business card? Brian's been an agent of mine for years. Okay, big thumbs down. I've never given a business card. Okay, not in over a decade. Why? Because it's not their job to call me. Their job's a plumber. Their job's a teacher. Their job's something else. My job is to reach out and contact. And so if I get in the habit of gathering information, if they say, oh, do you have a cell or do you have a card? I can get your number. I'm like, you know what? And I pat myself down like a forgetful old man. Been patting myself down for 15 years. You know what? I don't have it on me. Let me get my number into your phone. And I'll say, what's your number? And then I'll shoot them a text right then and say, here's my information on your phone. But then they're saved in my phone. And then I'll immediately go to my calendar for when I'm back at my desktop, and I'll add a note into my calendar saying, add Brian to your database. And I go on my phone because Brian's saved in my phone. Now he goes into my CRM software. If I do that twice a day for 1 year, I've hit my goal of getting 500 people in my database. Now, the study that I saw said it was like 14 quality contacts. My recipe is 20 quality contacts. But how many people in your database know somebody moving this year? What percentage of your database knows at least one person moving this year? The answer is very simple, 100%. Every single person in your database knows somebody that will move this year. Okay, we're shooting for 10% of them to say, oh, hey, I got a great guy. I've got a really good friend. You should give her a call. If we're doing these things, and we're having a personal contact with them every 3 months, at least every 3 months, they're getting market reports from us at least twice a year. Okay, they're getting a birthday card because we know when their birthday is. How do we know when their birthday is? Well, some of those personal contacts were like, hey, I want to be a better friend. I'm trying to remember my friends' birthdays. When is your birthday? And we get it saved in our contact management software. And then we have the business habit of opening up and working out of our contact management software every day so that we don't miss these important things. We don't miss these important nodes. The studies that I've seen say we should be getting about a 10% referral rate. Guys, if we did that with 500 people in our database, that'd be 52 transactions a year. Even if you did half that well, you're making between $200,000 and $300,000 a year. So I asked the question, what are you doing to get this business? Because people always say, well, I'm too busy. What are you so busy doing that you can't close 30 to 50 transactions a year? And maybe you should analyze what you're spending your time on because it's not this valuable. Maybe you should be bold enough to not just give away that business card, knowing that 1 in 1,000 might call you. Maybe you be bold enough and say, you know what, can I get your information? That's the kind of stuff that we need to be doing. Michael, go ahead.
I want to hear your take on, like, I'll just use Zillow as an example. I know there's a ton out there, but, you know, a lot of teams and people pay for these leads, you know, per month.
Uh-huh.
You-
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a way to build business. You can
Okay.
buy leads through Zillow. You can buy leads through realtor.com. There's a bunch of services that sell leads. And for some agents, it works really great. It is kind of expensive, but for
Yeah.
agents that are good at it, they're generating business from it. But what I would encourage you to do is while you're doing that, invest in this as well. You know, use that to build your database, use that to build your client base. But if you're doing these things, and so if I've got 500 people in my database and I want to make sure that I'm contacting them at least every 90 days, then I've got to be making about 6, 7 contacts a day, right? That could take me an hour or two, depending on the conversations that I'm having with people. But if I'm having an hour or two of conversations a day with people, I'm setting up appointments 2 or 3 times a week. So I might be buying leads right now, but in 5 years, maybe I don't have to buy leads because I've built myself up a great database with past clients that I've stayed in touch with, and I've proven myself to them. They love me, and now they're going and buying their next home. I should not have to continually buy leads year after year if I'm doing this stuff, because those clients will be selling and buying other homes. Their kids are going to grow up and buy and sell homes. Okay. So this is your homework assignment. Log into KV Core or whatever CRM software that you're using. Learn it. Okay. Do that agent quick start. Get set up correctly. If you've got a different software that you like, use it. Work out of it every single day. Get into the habit. For right now, we've talked about adding 2 new contacts a day, but I don't want you to put I don't want you to use an excuse of I'm not going to reach out to people today because they're not all in my database. So I have to do data entry, and I don't want you to sequester yourself in front of your computer doing data entry for 10 days. Just do 10 names and numbers per day. Set aside 1 hour until all of your contacts are uploaded in there. Go through your phone, put them in there. You'll realize really quickly once you have them in your software, I'm missing emails for all of these people. And then you're going to go through Facebook or these other social media sites and say, oh, this person's a friend of mine. I don't have any of their information. I'm going to have to message them on Messenger or something and get information. Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I think I was watching some of that, and I love this, that you put these out there 10, 15 minutes a day, agent quick start, or 10, 15 minutes a day, rep C, or any of the documents. And there was one video I was watching, and it said there was a link to all the documents in the video, but I didn't wasn't able to find that. Should I email you or?
Depends on where, depends on where it was at. So there's some older videos floating around
It's an older video probably.
okay. Most of the links to forms that I have are on Elevate. So if you log into Elevate and then up in the top left, there's training and there's a drop down. You can find it lead agent training there, and all the forms and stuff that I reference in different videos should be right there for you.
Yeah, I was looking in there, but I'll chat with you off
Okay.
after
Yeah.
this.
Yep, you can email me if you want. That's the beauty of this whole live thing. So
Thanks.
anyways, guys, this is your homework. Get into this habit of adding 2 new contacts a day. You'll save what, $100 every 5 years on business cards. Yay. And then once you've got all this put together, send out a newsletter, do a personal article, a professional article. If you're thinking, where can I get a professional article? Go to NAR. They've got a lot of great content in there that you could use, okay, to share out. So there's your homework assignment. Thank you for joining me. Questions, comments, feedback, you can always email me directly, as I mentioned to Michael. All right, was this helpful today? You that have been with me for a while, does it help you, remind you to get back on track? Good. That's the goal.
Great.
Okay, we'll see you guys online next week. Have a great week. Bye.